want to do.
Because this is America, goddammit.
Oh, shit, we're recording. Stop. Okay.
Serious.
And scene.
No, that's the end.
No, we're doing this with the startup thing. Don't you?
Sorry.
Introduce us.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
My name's Laurie Pike.
I'm Barbara Wawa.
If anybody's looking to have somebody on their podcast, let me know. I'm on the transfer.
Welcome, everybody. This is Finishing the Bottle, FTB.
FTB.
Lose it for a minute.
No. This is where we just kind of shoot the shit and maybe finish a bottle.
Shit the shoot.
Shit the shoot. Shoot the shit.
Who are you?
Da-na-na.
Sorry.
I'm Logan Lynch.
I'm Warwick Price.
I'm Lon Black. You know this.
Yeah, if you've made it this far.
So what we're going to do now is we record a few episodes, or as many episodes as we can any given night.
Hence, I'm wearing the same shirt.
God, but you got to point it out.
For the past month. And
those little black dots you're seeing, that's not like bad things on the video. Those are flies that are flying around.
So what we try to do is we talk about the movies we just reviewed. In the same respect that we decided to start this podcast and videocast because we sit around talking about movies, drinking bourbon all the time. And we figured we got to film this stuff and put it out there. So we did. And then after those episodes, we would still sit back and keep talking about these movies. And we're like, why didn't we stop recording?
Hit the record button.
Let's just keep recording this. So then we started finishing the bottle. And this is something Logan came up with about finishing the bottle, finishing the conversation about the movies we just recently reviewed. And the last two movies we just recently reviewed were Scream 6 and Knock at the Cabin.
Yes.
Which is M. Night Shyamalan. So my thought was, M. Night has done several movies, done a ton of movies. There's no way they're sequel kind of movies. They're standalone movies, of course, but
Minus.
Scream.
Other than Unbreakable Glass.
Well, but there's a good, okay, so that's a good talking point. But my question would be, how do they compare to a franchise like Scream? Franchise like Scream is 6 movies. M. Night's had more than 6 movies. So they're not comparable directly in that respect.
Sure.
How would M. Night Shyamalan do in a series, in a franchise?
So for me, I would say, I think one of the things that I like about M. Night Shyamalan is Shyamalan?
Shamalama Ding Dong.
Shyamalan Ding Dong.
That'll work.
It's like he's not someone that goes for the money grab. You know, in other words, it's like
absolutely.
He does movies that interest him. I don't know him obviously, but it's like, you know, it seems that he does movies that interest him, and doesn't do a movie just because, oh, this is going to make a lot of money. You know, I'm sure sometimes to the financier's dismay.
Do you think he tries to create cult classics?
No, I don't think he tries to create.
No, I mean,
any
I guess I shouldn't
persona.
say he tries, but do you think that a lot of his movies, because you're a big fan of his films, do you feel like
a very large fan? Yes.
That, you know, you're the type of person he makes movies for. Somebody that's gonna want to rewatch it because, you know what, I know he leaves things.
I don't know that I don't know that I agree with that. I think genuinely he is someone in the same vein as David Lynch that creates movies. I'm not going to say for him, but
create.
Because he's just a very, very creative person.
Sure.
And he creates movies that are interesting and, you know, not the norm. And I think that's why I think it would be very unusual to see him come up with a sequel to one of his movies.
And yet, to the point you brought up just moments ago, he did do a trilogy.
He did, but like to the movie that we talked about like 2-3 podcasts ago, in the same way as the Cornetto trilogy, though.
No. Cornetto trilogy didn't relate to anything at all. To each other
sorry,
at
I'm
all.
going to rewind that back.
Okay.
You're 100% correct.
All right.
Yeah, the Cornetto was the only thing that
It
really
was a joke
linked
connection between those two.
Yes,
It really
you're right.
is not a trilogy.
Unbreakable Glass and Split. I don't know.
And technically it was Unbreakable, Split, and then Glass.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, you're right. But Unbreakable was obviously created as a standalone movie.
Correct.
Split came in as an extension to that universe.
But it was a standalone movie.
No, but didn't he have the trilogy in mind at the time?
He did, but he didn't let that out to anybody. In fact, the whole point was, I'm sure he told the producers it was
there's a possibility.
It is a bigger story,
right.
yeah.
Of sorts. But it wasn't really a sequel, but yet it was a sequel. It was a side story that ended up connecting. So it's not really a sequel at all. It's a side story that ends up connecting. But for those people who saw Unbreakable and loved Unbreakable,
love Unbreakable,
which is a fantastic movie, and then they see Split, and you don't get the connection at all, and then at the end you see Bruce Willis sitting in the diner,
right?
And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
That I cannot tell you the joy that brought me. That one scene.
I 100% agree.
Oh my God!
I think
then I realized that they connected, and then you're like, of course, this is a super villain.
I thought Split was phenomenal.
God,
I'm blanking on the Scottish guy's name.
The Scottish guy. What Scottish guy?
The actor.
The actor that played it.
You're right. Yeah. Because he got really toned for this movie too. People help us out. Put it in the comments. We'll read it in a second.
But anyway, so you're 100% correct. It's like
I'm gonna I'll look up. You guys keep going.
There was nothing that really pointed you in any way that this was linked to Unbreakable until that very last moment.
Yep.
I will say, I think
James McAvoy.
Great actor.
Phenomenal
actor.
King of Scotland, if you haven't seen that, is just
great.
Not horror in any way.
Anyway,
great movie.
Right.
Anyway, but I will say it's, as you said, it's like I'm sure he talked to the financiers and the production people and said, hey, look, we're going to bring Bruce back and we're going to link these stories together, and I have this third story that I think we can do. I don't particularly like Glass.
Okay.
I think
you're entitled to be wrong. That's fine.
I think Glass. There's parts of Glass that are great, but it seemed like they were trying to create the trilogy out of not such of a strong story. I think Unbreakable is awesome. I think Split as a standalone movie is awesome. The adding of Bruce at the end, I think you could have cut that part out, and it still would have been like just a phenomenal movie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that was put in so that you could say, "Hey, well, these two are tied together."
Well, there's his twist, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. No, I get it. I just don't think that Glass is vaguely as good as Unbreakable and Split.
Unfortunately, I'm going to agree with you slightly on this one. Yeah. I don't think it was as good as the other two, but still a phenomenal film. Because for those of us who were sold out on the first one, bought into the second one, didn't even know, once those two movies connected with Bruce Willis at the end, I was counting the days until I got to see that third film where they all did battle or whatever was going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was so into it because, to me, I like the superhero movies. I'm a big comic book fan. Spider-Man was my guy when I was reading comic books. I'm into the whole Marvel universe, right? Don't watch every movie. There's too fucking many of them out there, but I like them, okay? I like which ones I see. I don't like all of them, I shouldn't say. But this was a superhero, supervillain story that made it realistic. It was real.
Was able to go around the Marvel.
It
and
was
DC
totally
things.
there were no tights, there were no spandex. It was like just real people who simply had superpowers. Even like when they started doing the Marvel universe of the Misfits or the the kids who had superpowers and they were all like weird super. No. It wasn't even that. That was even still costumed heroes. These are just like normal schmucks who are doing battle, and only one of them realizes this is based on comic book stuff, and that's Glass himself.
Right, but it's like, I think Unbreakable, obviously being the first, it's like it's another movie. Well, let's liken it back to the movies that we've been talking about, like Cabin in the Woods.
Knock on the cabin door.
Knock at the cabin.
No, not
cabin.
Just
knock at the cabin.
Sorry. But so, where it's all about, you go through most of Unbreakable where you think he's crazy, like everyone around him just thinks
because he thinks he's going crazy.
He's this crazy guy.
Yeah.
Because everything that's being told, the whole storyline just seems unbelievable. Very much like Knock at the Cabin, where it's not until the end that you suddenly realize, oh shit, everything he's been talking about is true.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, I still stick to the fact that it's like I think Unbreakable and Split were amazing. I thought Glass was a great movie, just not on the level of the other two.
I agree, but then again, if you think about it, there's almost no way to finish off that trilogy that would be better than the first two, because he was able to get that first shock. I mean, Unbreakable was a great story, and at the end you realize, my God, he's a superhero, and he doesn't want it, and he doesn't want to be there, and he keeps it on the down low, and even the whole shock of him like lifting the weights, and then it just keeps getting more and more, and he's still able to do it. He's like, holy shit.
But he has a weakness too.
Of course he's got a weakness like a superhero.
Every good superhero does.
So that's what he thinks about, but that's just it. He doesn't know this until Glass tells him about it, saying, you're this, this, and this, and I know this because I'm your supervillain.
Right.
And even that, he doesn't want to be the supervillain. It's like revealed to him as like...
Yeah, but he had to do a villainy thing to get the information.
Of course he did, because that's how it... Because when he found out, that's sort of the realization of him being a supervillain.
Yeah.
But okay, so again, liking it back to the other movies that we're already talking about.
Sure. Oh, good point.
I'm intrigued. I'm
there.
intrigued
Sorry about
to
that,
see
people.
what you're going to put on the title card for this one.
Me too.
Is the fact that
I heart M. Night. That's pretty much gonna be.
You know what they call them? They're called 90s.
Oh, 90s?
Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I'm
I did
not
not
a
know
90.
that. Yeah,
I
you
think
are.
he's a 90s.
I don't know what that is. You're making that shit up. Fuck you.
But
So people that like Dead and Breakfast, are they thongies? All right. Like I tried that back up.
Kumon,
All
right.
Yeah.
But what I was trying to do to tie it back is kind of like the Scream franchise, where we have rules that follow. Hey, in order to be a franchise, but that's my point. My point is, it's these characters were not necessarily your typical superhero characters.
Yeah.
But there were like tropes that they had to follow,
Of course.
in order to kind of become the superhero.
Course. Of
But
course.
I felt he navigated that, pretty well in those movies, to enough that it's like, okay, you get that he's a superhero, but it's not so over the top trope, right? Like you're going, oh god, yeah, that's totally like so and so, I think, again, to tie things back into the movie we saw tonight. I mean, he did the same thing with the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, right? You kind of get that vibe, but you don't really pay attention to it until...
Well, they never officially say it.
Yeah, well,
No,
Eric does.
Right.
Yeah, Eric does at the end. He says, they're the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Oh, you're right.
And so he kind of,
You're right.
and then he explains everything, but that's where I liked how he tied that in, and I feel like the explanation was more for the people that are just like, regular weekend moviegoers that probably were just like, oh, I heard it's a movie that came out. But, it was that realization, I think, that you kind of got that same feeling of, most people probably understood it at that point, but I got that same realization feeling when watching the end of Unbreakable and Split, right? You're kind of like, yeah, all right, it ties it. It was more subtle in those movies, probably because he had to, right? It was, his first real like blowout, like, holy cow, this guy actually knows what he's doing, right? Like, I think some people feel like I feel like some people love or hate him, like, and then some people started to get to that point where it's like, where's the big twist? And he still, I think, delivered on some of those movies with the big twists. Like,
I think the problem with the M. Night Shyamalan, with the persona or the perception, I should say, of his movies is he had some major hits.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then when another movie comes out, they expect it to be a major hit, and then they get a little let down. And then he comes out, and it's another major hit. Like, oh, he's back. And then he has another kind of one that's critically not acclaimed. And I say things like Lady in the Water. Mm-hmm. I loved Lady in the Water. Most people did not like Lady in the Water.
I liked it.
Because they don't realize that they see M. Night Shyamalan did this one, it's going to be a fantastic movie.
And there's going to be a big twist at the end. Yep.
And it wasn't. It was a fairy tale.
It was a straightforward movie.
It was like, I mean, come on. There were weird fucking characters throughout the whole movie. One guy who's got one arm bigger than the other, and it's like, they're fairy tale characters, of course. But he set them in a realistic setting. The same way he took superhero genre and put it in a realistic setting. That's all he did. But because it didn't have a big twist at the end, or didn't have ghosts, then people wrote it off and said, fuck this guy.
I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, I think it's one of those things where I would like to think that, I don't go to see movies with an expectation.
You've learned from, you're a Lynchian. So
you've learned, you should know, though.
You've learned that, okay, I feel like you know enough that, okay, I know this is the director, but I'm going to go into this with an open mind, right? I feel like because of probably,
I certainly try to.
Yeah, because of you've seen David Lynch films where it's like, if you go in with something, he's going to fucking flip it on you. So there's no way to...
But you make a point of watching David Lynch films just because David Lynch wrote them, correct? Or directed them or whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I mean, I've literally watched everything that he's done, even though I don't necessarily like everything that he's done. But it's like, they're just...
I still haven't seen The Straight Story, by the way, but...
There's a few that I still haven't seen myself. I like David Lynch, don't get me wrong.
But I mean, I think it's...
we should do that. Just not to jump in there, but we should do that one night. Just one of these finishing the bottles is watching all of his short films while we're getting hammered.
Yes.
Anyway.
Could make for a fucked up episode.
Exactly.
And we could maybe do Eraserhead as like the lead-in movie.
Oh, there you go.
Good. Anyway. Generally when I go and see a movie, it's like, number one, I don't go to the movie theater very often because I hate people that talk in movie theaters. So it's like, unless it's a movie that I just feel is going to be bettered by being in the theater experience, I tend not to go. So when I go and see tentpole movies, the Marvel movies and things like that in theaters, I know I'm not going for great storytelling.
Sure.
I'm just going for an enjoyable movie. When I have seen M. Night Shyamalan movies in the theater, I am going genuinely because I think I'm going to see quality storytelling. And
you don't go in there expecting, ooh, what's going to be the big twist?
I don't think so, but it's like, I think that some of that, you might be correct. I mean, some of that is, I think the good storytelling is, I'm expecting to see a movie that I haven't seen before.
Right.
With the exception of The Last Airbender, which we won't go into, which I think he did because his kids like the stories.
I think that's clearly what happened there, but yeah.
But it's, I didn't like Lady in the Lake, and I
Lady in the Water.
Lady in the Water.
Not Lady in the Lake. There was no lake. It was a swimming pool.
Her arm clad with a pure shimmering samite.
Totally different.
Held aloft Excalibur.
Totally, yeah. That's a little different story.
But
M. Night didn't cover Arthur. You know what I'm saying? So.
But it's like I really like Paul Giamatti.
Yes.
I think he's awesome.
Yeah.
And I thought he was awesome in it. There just wasn't enough story.
When was the last time you saw it?
I would say
probably when it came out.
Yeah.
Okay. So now you've probably seen it a couple times.
Yes.
Okay. As have I. I challenge you to go back now, not tonight,
With an open mind.
and rewatch the whole movie from beginning to end. Because knowing what you know about Knock on the Cabin
Okay.
and the development of characters that he's got, and knowing that it's a fairy tale, if you go back into that movie, you're going to see nuances in those characters and storylines in those characters where you're going to know, because you already know the ending,
Right.
so you'll see what those characters are doing and why they're doing them, and you can see the story unfold better than you did before, and not expecting it to be like, what the fuck kind of apartment is this where the one dude's got a bigger arm than the other arm, and what the fuck is the pool
I
swimming
just thought he was
pool?
closer to the camera.
Yeah. So now, then, I'm going to lead it back into the movies
Thank
again.
God,
that we
I was
watched.
totally
Do
different.
you feel
Oh, I'm
like
sorry.
this is... Where do you put the Knock at the Cabin in that roller coaster of M. Night movies? Do you
He's on his way back up, for
You
sure.
feel it's on their way back up? Okay.
He's on his way back up.
Now,
I shouldn't say on his way back up. I
Yeah.
think he's already been up there. I
Okay.
just don't think critically he's been up there. He's
I-
been up there for me.
as I
what was
get-
his last release? Was it The Visit?
Um,
No.
no, I think it was technically it was before or after Devil. The,
Yeah,
the elevator.
The
Devil-
Visit
Devil
was
was
the
years
last
ago.
one I remember, but I haven't.
Let's check it
Whilst
out.
these guys are cheating and looking at their phone, I can't
Yeah.
look at my phone because my phone is being used to record this episode. That's why I have paper.
M. Night Shyamalan.
There's a reason why I gave it a 3. I think this is way better than a lot of the lesser M. Night Shyamalan movies. Totally watchable. I didn't pay to see this in a theater, but I think I would have been happy to pay for this to see in a theater.
Old.
Oh, that's right.
Do you remember
Oh
Old?
gosh, yeah. So I actually liked Old.
I liked Old too, although that was more of a minimalist story.
Correct.
Because you understood
he had
what
his
was
twist.
going on. Oh, of course you did.
Who was in Old? Because
That was- What?
someone who was in Old was in Cabin in the Woods, I thought.
Cabin in the Woods.
Cabin in the
Oh
Woods.
my God, sorry.
I think we went through like
Knock at the
7
Cabin
opposite
Door.
movies compared.
Knock on the Cabin.
Let's see.
No one. Well, Nikki Amuku Bird. She was. She was.
Makes for good radio.
Yeah.
She was Sabrina.
Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
She was Knock at the Cabin. Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Knock at
Ah,
the
there you
Cabin.
go.
Yep,
She was
yep.
the nurse in
Correct.
So before Old, there was probably.
well,
I think it
before
was
Old was Glass.
Glass. Okay.
So-
and then before Glass was probably Visit. Visit's in there somewhere. God damn it!
Well,
I
of
know
course
it is.
Visit's in
Anyway,
there.
but
The Visit was actually before. So Wayward Pines, he did a couple episodes of
that's
that, but
right.
technically that's not M. Night Shyamalan.
yeah.
Shyamalan Ding Dong.
So technically it
Shyamalan
was
Ding Dong.
because once Split came out,
Dip,
they
dip,
had to
dip,
come out
dip.
with Glass. So 16 was Split, 19 was Glass.
Wow, there was a 3-year gap.
20. Well, that's what he does. That's the other thing is he takes years and years. He spends a lot of time with his family, and his wife is a fucking surgeon. So it's like he doesn't really have to work either. And
He's like, I need another 20 mil.
right, so he does this because he loves doing it. And there's times when he does it and he's successful that she doesn't need to work. But the point is, he takes his time making his movies. He doesn't just crank them out. He does it when it's significant to make it. Or he thinks he's got a good story or thinks he can tell it in an interesting way.
So I do have
So-
a way to tie these two movies together, in a sense, right?
Okay.
Innocence?
In a sense.
And not necessarily timed together. It could be pitted against each other.
Okay.
Sense.
I
Okay.
think that there's a situation called for to say that M. Night is the anti-franchise.
Well, I agree with the statement that even I made, which is basically I just don't see him as a franchise director. You know, I'm sure there are many producers that have gone back to him and said, "Hey, how about another Sixth Sense movie?"
Everybody
Or-
wants that.
Sense.
Everybody wants
6.5 cents. You know,
Right. Everybody wants a new one. And the happening, so when he did Unbreakable, in fact, let's go to all of them, because
That was.
he did Unbreakable, then he did Signs. Signs was a blockbuster. right? Can we all agree that Signs was a phenomenal movie?
It was great. I love The Happening as well.
And The Happening. Okay, great.
I liked The Happening.
So when he did Unbreakable. Unbreakable was a great movie, but was not critically acclaimed at first. It was one of those sleeper movies, right? Then he did Signs. Then he did The Village. Village to me is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I don't like Village.
That's probably on my lower end.
See, and that's the problem is the payoff. It wasn't necessarily the whole payoff. To me, I bought into the whole payoff. I bought into the storyline. So when he had that twist at the end, I was like freaked out. I just lost my shit.
Well, I'm not a 90, so like you.
He's a thonger.
By the way, I just made that up. I just think.
So, as I mentioned before, to bring back to the two movies we already talked about, I know you're
motherfucker
over there jizzing for M. Night.
Yeah.
I'm in his 90s.
In his 90s. Anyway,
I'm in.
So the way I tied these two movies together was technically they could be considered home invasion movies.
Wait, what's that now?
Scream 6 and
so you're trying to tie them together?
Yes.
So Scream 6.
That's why you said that.
I'm not paying attention to Logan. You think I listen to a fucking Logan any time? I don't even know if he's is he part of this show?
I have to because he's
kind of here.
I'm sitting.
I'm just here for the alcohol.
I know there's some guy we had come in and do trivia, but what the fuck? All right, so let's hear.
So no, I felt like they're home invasion movies, right? I mean, literally, they're Ghostface is coming into your house, and you've got the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
I like that take on it. Right? I like that take on it.
So now, of that, which do you think did it better?
You asking me? Mm-hmm. Do you know what my answer already is?
Well, considering you blew your wad on.
Because he's a 90.
He's going to be like, it's Scream 6, of course. No.
Scream 6 has been done and been redone. I still love it. It was probably one of the better ones of the last 5. No. Scream 1 and 2 are the best.
Yes, I agree.
But they did something new in Scream 6, and that's entertaining enough. So this was probably better than 5 or 4.
Okay.
I agree. I mean, I think it's...
Or 3 even.
Even as we said in that episode, it's... Scream makes fun of itself and those kind of franchise movies, and in itself, that's what makes them generally.
Yeah, I'm doing it too.
Would you like some bourbon to help wash that down?
No, I think I'll have some water. But it's like I think that's what makes them enjoyable. I think they've even all of them in the franchise, they've reached a kind of a good point of even the bad ones, because they make fun of themselves,
are still entertaining.
I agree. I think this one was more entertaining than the last 3. You're right. 1 and 2 are definitely the best. The question I was going to extend, because I think, yes, it is a home invasion movie, technically. Knock on the Cabin, got it right. But it's not really, obviously, in the same way.
No, but for a hypothetical, I think it's a good discussion point because it's interesting and ridiculous at the same time.
But in terms of which one does it better, I think Scream does it better purely because the ultimate goal of I guess ultimate goal is robbery, because home invasion robbery.
But there was no robbery in any of these movies.
Right. But
except for their lives.
Except for their lives.
Yes.
But I think Scream Ultimate did it better. Can I tangent that question?
Why not?
As long as it's not back to M. Night.
No.
Let's tangent.
So do you... Because the whole invasion thing is...
Is that a fucking word, tangent? Somebody look that shit up.
Well, tangent is...
It's tangent, but tangent.
Is he talking about a tan gentleman?
No, it's very tan. But so, in the Scream franchise, has Ghostface ever killed someone on the street? And I don't mean at the beginning of this one.
Well, does the alley count?
Well,
because he killed like 6 people in the fucking alley in this last one. He killed the professor. He killed. No,
the professor was in the house.
No.
But
in
that
the alley.
But that wasn't really Scream. That was the copycat. And that
Okay,
wasn't really Ghostface, that was the copycat.
All right. What do you guys feel about that? Just as a tangent, what do you guys think of the fact that there was other killers?
Is he gonna spit it? Let's see.
In the fucking Scream movie that weren't the actual Scream killers, or were they? Because they were still in the costume, so they technically are Ghostface. Because really, the new killers weren't Ghostface; they're new killers wearing Ghostface. So who's Ghostface?
That is a very good point.
Everybody's Ghostface. In fact, let me just throw out the fact that when this came out, I thought from the previews, showing them on the train, they showed in the commercial, the trailer and whatnot, that everybody wearing a Ghostface mask because it's Halloween and he was a character that everybody wanted to dress up as. I thought the whole twist on this movie was going to be that now we're in New York, everybody's Ghostface. Anybody can be Ghostface. You put on the mask, you kill somebody, you're Ghostface.
Yes.
I absolutely did. I have read that part of the moving out of Woodsboro and moving to New York was to enable them to basically make it that Ghostface is the star of the movie. Mm-hmm. It isn't about.
But Ghostface is not one person. Ghostface is Legion. Ghostface is like so far like 8 people.
Yeah, more
but
than that.
But like they, and that's what I was hoping they would expand on it more, and that's where I mentioned earlier, in the episode that it should have been a cult. It should have been.
It is a cult.
But
it is.
But it was getting to that point, but then they stopped it.
But the copycat killers had a shrine.
Right.
Correct.
They were collecting the
Well,
masks.
but technically that wasn't the copycat killers, though, right? Was it? Well, no,
It was
right.
the
copycats had their own little shrine
in his apartment. You're right. Because obviously the detective made up the story that the theater was the shrine.
Correct.
That was actually there. That was actually
which was just a bigger shrine. So whoever has the biggest shrine is a legit.
When you think about that, that should never have made sense because 2 college kids have money to buy this. But
this shit. Aside from that, there's college kids who will go without food so they can afford to buy a collectible.
The other thing that bothered me though about that movie was
in New York, no less.
How there was a killer or a killing that happened, and then the mask was left at the scene, and like within an hour, they're like, "Oh yeah, the DNA showing X, Y, and Z person was." It's like,
oh, okay, so that's
like, come on,
that's part
DNA
of the bullshit
takes
of the movie.
Like fucking days and
that
weeks.
That is part of the bullshit of this movie, just like the size of Ghostface. But this warrants a very good question. Because I really haven't gotten it out of you two yet. It's about time. I haven't gotten a solid answer out of you two fuckers yet. Anybody who puts on the Ghostface mask and kills somebody is Ghostface. Yes or no? And if not, what makes them Ghostface?
I'm going to say no.
Just because they kill Woodsboro people?
No. Because there's got to be a reason behind it.
Oh,
so I could
people didn't kill for no reason.
It'd be the same. Yeah,
Halloween,
Michael Myers.
No. He killed in Scream.
I know. I'm just getting at that. But for me, the whole thing is yes, anybody could put on a Ghostface and kill somebody, but
does that make them Ghostface?
No, it doesn't. That makes them a copycat at that point. That to me is somebody that's if they're not part of if they're on their way to get Sydney, and that's why, hey, this guy just happened to be in my way, or I ran this guy over.
Did anybody in this movie go after Sydney?
No.
Then they're not Ghostface.
That's exactly it.
Okay.
So, to me, they're not Ghostface.
Okay, so nobody in this movie was Ghostface.
I think it is definitely a gray area, because I know exactly the point you're coming from. The reality of the fact is, even Skeet Ulrich and what's his name?
Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard, thank you. Matthew Lillard. It's even in the original, they randomly came up with the Ghostface mask.
Because they were available in any store.
Right. So technically, I agree with what you're saying, because it's as much as I discounted Jason and what's his name, the killers at the very, very, very beginning of 6. As not being like Ghostface because they weren't really the part of the story that was Ghostface. You're right. Technically, none of them were. All the way from the very, very first movie. Yeah. The fact the mask was really just simply something that was available to put on, and ultimately as the franchise has continued and because of the Stab movies, the mask has become synonymous with a serial killer that typically stabs their victims.
But that doesn't explain whether if you put on the mask and kill somebody that makes you Ghostfaced or not. Because obviously the copycats wanted to be Ghostfaced.
Yeah, they want the notoriety.
But again, arguably, the original movie, they were copycats. Because almost by nature of how that movie laid out, they were killing based on horror movie tropes.
You're not talking the original. You're not talking
the original
the first
Scream.
one, the very first one.
Yeah.
They were. Say that again. So how could they copycat Scream?
No,
Ghostface
but they weren't copycat. They were copycatting.
Sure, that works. Kitty Wampus, Catty Wampus.
Like Scream, but they were doing it based on horror tropes. I mean, like,
sure.
What makes up a horror movie?
So you're saying they were copycatting movies
in general,
because
well,
they.
That's true in the first one because there was no Ghostface. They created Ghostface.
But that's exactly what I mean. I'm actually agreeing with what your original question is, which is basically, I think anyone that puts on a Ghostface mask and kills someone is Ghostface, regardless of whether they are the main characters of the movie.
Amen, sister. So you can't call them copycats.
No, they are
because
they are
technically
Ghostface.
Everybody's a copycat because they're not Stu and they're not the original killers of the movie who created Ghostface, which was based on a mask that anybody could get in any store anyway.
And
so technically,
even
there could
their
have been thousands of killers out there wearing that mask. Were they Ghostface?
Right, and,
yes.
and again, even their kills were based on standard horror tropes.
Of course.
Because that was their whole point of trying to cover up what they were doing.
Of course.
Was because they were just trying to follow the formula.
And think about this. The copycat, the ones you're calling copycat, in the first one that killed their own professor in the alleyway, they did the call up, they did on the phone, they did the voice, they did the modulator, they said, oh, you like scary movies? And they tied it in saying, you teach scary movies and yet you still walked into an alley by yourself. They did exactly what Ghostface does for the exact reasons Ghostface does it. Ergo, they were Ghostface.
But his reasoning behind killing her
was the same reason anybody else does it. You follow the tropes of a horror.
Yeah, but he just said she was giving him a bad grade too. But I feel like.
But that was ancillary. That
correct,
was
but that's where I don't. That's why I don't.
So you still don't think that they're Ghostface?
I don't think they're Ghostface. They are copycats, like we agree. We agree on that.
What makes Ghostface then?
Ghostface is.
You can't say going after Nev Campbell because she wasn't even in this.
Well, I know, but that's why to me that technically is not Ghostface. That's copycats. So
the whole movie was copycats.
Correct. Yeah. The whole thing. Now we're at the point where it's no longer just being, oh, you put on the mask and kill somebody. It's I need a reason. Now, and that's where I wish they would have tied it to Sydney somehow and said, well, once we're done with you, we're going after Sydney or something like that. Then to me, that would have been like, boom, okay, now they're actual. But you can't be Ghostface unless you were the originals, the OGs.
Wait, but there weren't OGs ever.
But there is.
From two on.
The first two to make that mask famous, they could have put on, one of those big fake baby head things and killed people, and that could have been. Actually, isn't that done in Happy Birthday?
Yes.
There you go. So there you go. Yeah.
Happy birthday to me. But still, so in Scream 2, who were the killers in Scream 2? Do you remember? I don't even remember off the top of my head. It was another pair.
It was the mother of
the mother of Skeet.
The mother and the son.
Roseanne.
Right. Yeah. She was in the movie TV show Roseanne. But those two. So those were the killers in 2, right?
Yes, but she was actually trying to kill Sydney. Why? Because her son got killed. So she was trying to kill Sydney.
Okay.
So to me, but
they were a copycat.
Correct. Of the originals.
The originals.
Correct. So to me, Scream 2
were they Ghostface?
They were not Ghostface.
So
who was Ghostface?
Only the original movie is Ghostface.
Correct. To me.
So what? How are they all these? Okay. So if that's true, if you believe that, and we all know you're wrong, why the fuck are we watching Scream movies and them calling him Ghostface?
Because that's the name of the actual mask at this point. That's the mask itself is called Ghostface.
But the mask itself came from a generic mold that they were selling
Correct.
way before they
so
came
they
out
could have
with
called
Scream.
it, you know, Charles Lee Ray.
Well, honestly,
but
ooh, good. I like that catch.
But
That's
they could have called it anything, and now that's
Write
what
in the
they're.
comments if you know who Charles Lee Ray is. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's
Everyone knows.
So
No, I
you-
don't. I don't. I bet. I want to see. I want to see who says it.
I just feel like they. This is going to sound bad, but it's a sellout. We're selling out at this
Why
point.
stop now?
It's a sellout at this point where, okay, we know everybody likes the voice and they like the mask. And that's all this has been. I mean, they got even to the point now where you can call, I mean, shit, you go on TikTok, you can use that voice to say whatever the hell you want.
So
you know?
therefore, everybody's Ghostface.
Yes, but they're
Right.
not, but they're copycat Ghostface.
No. So there's only one original, or in this case, two original Ghostface.
Yeah.
The first movie, and
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. Everything else is.
So
just
how can you make a
copy
sequel out of
of-
Ghostface?
Because
make
you
an
can make a
icon
sequel
out
out
of
of
it?
anything. I could make a.
But an
okay,
icon
so-
out of
so-
Ghostface.
Wait, American Psycho. Good thing here. American Psycho.
Yep.
It was all in his head. None of it actually happened. What did they come
Well-
out with? American Psycho 2. Mila Kunis. You can make a movie out of anything, and you can
Okay.
make a sequel out of anything. You can.
First of all, if you put Mila Kunis in a movie, I'm watching it.
Well, that too. And when you kill a guy with a condom,
I don't even remember her killing anybody or with a knife, but I remember the movie that she was in it.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
remember every scene she was in that movie. Couldn't tell you what the story was about.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is,
What is the point? Like, truly, what is the point?
the point is, everybody is Ghostface. And my reasoning for that is, you've got the voice, you kill somebody, you're wearing the mask, is all you need to be Ghostface. And that's what
You don't
makes...
feel that waters it down, though?
No, but this is, to me, is what makes the Scream trilogy, or the Scream trilogy, Jesus
Franchise.
Christ.
Here,
Franchise.
To give everybody a good analogy here, this is the original Scream. This is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like,
Okay,
you're
well,
getting to,
But now you're making the original sucky.
Okay.
yes, that's what I'm saying. You're getting to that point. Well, I can still kind of smell it.
Let's go back to the OG here. Now,
Oh dear God! Oh, holy
so
shit!
by that
That
definition-
just made it horrible.
Can you put
Oh,
more
God.
OG in it to make it better?
oh my God,
Yes, you
that's
could.
genius.
You could.
Throw more into
You
it.
could,
What
but
happened?
what would have to happen is
Oh.
you'd have a bigger glass.
More movies,
Yes.
bigger crowd.
And you're eventually going to run out
I
of
get
the
your
OG.
analogy.
See?
All right, genius.
Honestly, though,
Dude,
try it
this
seriously.
is-
Put
this
some
is-
water in
we're-
there. Oh my.
Why would I want to when you're saying it?
Oh God, that just made it.
We deserve an Emmy for this episode. Okay,
Yes.
so listen.
Actually,
Back to the point,
What is
though.
it for? What is it for podcasts?
What do we
It's
have?
not
I
Emmys.
don't know. Potties.
Potty.
I think we were on the same on that one.
Start a potty. I'm gonna
I like it. We'll start it. We'll give ourselves the first
Oh
one.
God.
The 90s.
And then everybody
will
else is
start a potty.
copycats of that, right?
All right, so this is a great discussion because first of all, I want to convince you that everybody is
Sure.
Ghostface.
I
Because-
get where you're coming from. But go
Because,
ahead.
but you see it now. I know you're resisting it just because you're trying to be a purist about this, and to cause conflict so we get good ratings. And I'm all for that. but there is no Sydney in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's no Woodsboro in this movie.
There's pictures, hand drawings of Sydney. Does that count?
By the way, do you know why they did hand drawings?
Probably to get around legalities.
You are 100% correct.
For
They
hand
did-
drawings.
So,
Or-
so when they're in the shrine area and they have like all the pictures of,
Oh yeah,
of the
yeah.
other
They
killers,
showed the characters and then
the reason why it's
But
all,
they had some of them with pictures.
those are the people that they had copyright that they had the rights to use. So all the other people wouldn't sign off without money on the rights. The other interesting thing is I don't know what their names are, but the set designer was interviewed and somehow between 5 and 6, all of the digital material of like posters and just stuff that goes into and stuff that goes into like went into all the previous movies somehow didn't exist for this, and so when they were creating the shrine, the prop people literally had to go. And it was like
Recreate stuff.
yeah, when you look
I
at all of those,
Kind of expected that actually.
yeah, when you look at all the outfits and masks, those were actually like newly created
Yes.
mask. They weren't able to go back to some prop house and go, oh, give me the outfit from the original Scream.
Right,
would
because
there be
honestly,
bullet holes in the outfits and things like
the
that.
one mask that looked weathered, that was supposed to be Stu's
You could
or
totally tell that was-
the original mask
Right.
and stuff like that. It's been like, what, 6-8 years at this point?
Right.
That
Yep.
mask isn't going to deteriorate that
Because
much.
it's
in 8
rubber,
years.
it's like-
It's rubber. But the point is, back to the original point of this whole thing, is
M. Night Shyamalan.
there is no requirement for Ghostface to make it officially Ghostface.
Sure.
I agree.
What if there was a requirement being Woodsboro or going after Sydney? That's gone. The
Yeah.
third one that they claim as their Ghostface
They
character.
broke that wall. They broke that wall in this one.
Nobody went after Sydney. Yes, they went after Gale, but that was a sidestep because they wanted to get to the other two characters, the main character. In fact, here's
He's got you now.
Gotcha, bitch.
what was the reason that the three most recent Ghostfaces, really two of them were Ghostface and one was the dad of Ghostface Juniors.
He never actually put.
He
the
never
mask
put on the
right?
mask on, exactly. So technically you can't even call him a Ghostface. The kids were the Ghostface. They were going after who? The whole time.
Samantha.
Why?
Because she killed their brother.
Because she killed their brother and she was the daughter of
Skeet Ulrich. Well, his character.
his character.
Yeah.
So they didn't even, there was no Sydney in that whole thing.
But see that I think.
I know they changed the scene because once Sydney said she wasn't going to do the movie, they had
Yeah,
to change the
yeah.
storyline and all. But because of that, that takes that Sydney equation out. Right? They're in New York. They're not in Woodsboro. They were kind of going after Woodsboro kids for a while, but ancillarily because they were going after Richie, who was not actually from Woodsboro either.
You know what's
So,
funny? I didn't
it's
really.
gone.
I didn't really
Woodsboro's not
think
a
about this until now, which I'm sure you guys probably thought of this. But
Because we're smart.
Jason Takes Manhattan.
But
Like that. Do I consider that? Honestly, I kind of like
hold
that
on.
one. 7's my favorite. But anyway, Jason Takes Manhattan. Is that truly Jason?
no. But let me tell you something. It was, allegedly. But
Yep.
was there not, and you fuckers better tell me down in the comments if I'm wrong on this, but I could have sworn in Scream 6, and I don't have a copy to review this. We've seen it once in the theaters. Did they not play Jason Takes Manhattan
Yes.
on the TV during that movie?
Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
They did. They did. So
What are
nice
they
little
telling you?
throwback.
What are they telling
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, they're saying they're copycats.
They're doing the Jason Takes Manhattan, Ghostface Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, you have to expand. Otherwise, people would have just been like,
But
I mean,
see-
why
but
wouldn't
see-
you have millions? Why wouldn't you just send 20,
That's part of
30
the
different
beauty of
copies?
Scream. That's part of the beauty of Scream is that they know enough to make fun of themselves and even call out the fact that they're doing the Jason Takes Manhattan thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately to kind of bring this whole thing to a.
Why? We out of time?
We're getting there.
Yeah, we got time.
We're getting there. But no,
I like yelling about this more.
I guess.
I'm really heated on
Like
this.
I agree with you. I think it's what they have done.
Did you catch that?
I've agreed with you several times.
Yeah, but now is when it counts.
I'm feeling team
Because we're fighting Logan, and
Team
Logan's...
Long.
All right, guys.
LVL. Anyway,
So I think what they've done in the franchise in general is they've made it so that there isn't a Jason, there isn't a character that keeps coming back. It is you are Ghostface because you put the mask and the outfit on, and there's obviously things that go along with that. I.e., generally you're a serial killer, but it's like.
and you need to know horror movies.
But I think that's the thing. That's the thing for Ghostface. That's what, to me, makes Ghostface is that he kills based on horror movie tropes.
Right.
So don't go into an alley by yourself. You did, you're dead.
But I think the thing that is actually interesting is as much as they make a big deal about the horror movie tropes, and there's every single movie they talk about it. I think what's interesting though is that generally the killers, other than the first movie, don't know anything about horror movie tropes. So, okay,
I agree with this. I agree with 6 for sure.
So, with the exception of Jason and whatever in at the beginning of this, but no, it's like typically, like if you look at 2, it's oh my god, I had the name tip of my tongue.
Which Scream?
Roseanne. No, Scream 2.
The mom.
The
mom.
Yeah. You know, in other words, it's like she's not doing anything because she knows the way horror movies work. In other words, like typically
she's got an actual killer motive.
Typically, typically the Ghostface killer. Yeah. And not talking about Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah. Ain't nothing to fuck with.
You know, they're killing because they have some revenge.
It's revenge.
Kind of plot line to it.
And they're using, but yet again, they're using the Ghostface portion of things because it's obviously a sore point for Sydney. They know it's going to scare her. What the whole point of this is it's revenge, but it's also delayed gratification, right? Like because honestly, she couldn't walk up to her and just go, "Hey, this is a microphone. This is a gun. Boom, dead." You know,
But I think that is
that would make for a short series. But
and it's like again, I know they're playing into the trope that's what they do. That's the whole point of this franchise. But I do think it's funny to exactly your point. It's like at the end of the day, if you're really trying to have revenge, why put on a fucking Ghostface mask?
You don't.
Right. It's totally ancillary. There's no.
And that's
point
where I was saying
it.
it's more of a. It's just the copycat sense that it's not. You're not being that person. It's not so much like a Michael Myers. Like he's a single person and he's able to do this. Now they didn't.
Correct.
They could have gone down that route and said, "Oh well, let me rephrase that." They kind of did because there was somebody wearing the mask similar, but it wasn't him.
Right.
Ben Tramer, who gets killed. But that's what I mean. That was more of to just misdirect, as opposed to, okay, there's multiple of them. Like I feel like they're expanded now. They've got anybody could be Ghostface. So to your point, yes, that is true. Anybody could be Ghostface, but a true Ghostface person would actually have motive behind what they're doing, other than I want to be in the news. Because if you're wearing the mask, you're not going to be in the news, other than haha, look at that my.
So I think that, and I can't remember what I've said and what I haven't said. But so I think one of the things that they've talked about, I've seen articles on anyway, is that part of the reason they went away from Woodsboro was so that Ghostface, we did talk about this, that Ghostface becomes the star. So in other words, it's less about the characters from Woodsboro and how they continue.
That sounds to me like a money thing then. That I just want to, because
it's now a money thing.
Name a horror movie that's not about the money.
Blair Witch Project.
Blair Witch Project had no characters.
Skinamarink.
No scary. Skinamarink sucked ass.
No.
Had no scary characters.
I know, but
had nothing scary about it.
But then when you look at it, it's all a money grab at that point because
Absolutely
now they're okay. Well,
what do you
now
think a sequel
like
is?
you just said, you answered that question because anybody can put the mask on now, and they can kill for whatever reason they want. It could turn
100%.
into so that to me is a copycat. That's not the original. The original had intent. They had an actual motive. They had a reason.
There hasn't been an original in the entire series except for one.
Exactly.
There is no.
Exactly my point.
So you got a whole franchise of copycats.
Yes.
Which means everybody can be Ghostface.
Oh Jesus! All right.
I think
I will agree.
I think you just walked into your own argument.
Yes, but yours.
Winner.
Everybody can be Ghostface.
Everybody can be Ghostface. Because there's only one OG,
by the way,
and they died.
That's the title of the
Ghostface of the finishing the bottle.
I got to do this the whole time.
Finishing the bottle. Everybody can be Ghostface.
I got to do a thumbnail for this too.
We could do. Everybody could be.
Anybody, come on, get a
everybody
thumbnail.
Everybody can be 90s.
Give me a good shot for the thumbnail. What is that? I'm the one who went. The fuck. In work, every time I do a thumbnail, I try to get good shots of all the three of us in thumbnail. every time Warwick's either like this, or he's got the scorecard in front of his face, and I'm like, give me a good shot.
Okay, you've got an hour worth of video. There has to be.
Because you're so polite. Most of the time, your face is very, very like normal and straight. You don't do anything funny. This guy over
I
here,
don't do
like,
anything funny.
Hey, you know, I
Why
got
am
these
I
weird
here?
faces.
I'm animated.
Yeah,
So there, here, I'll give you mine.
just be conscious. Don't block your face so much.
Does anybody know
What is
that's
that?
from?
That's what you're supposed to be.
Come
All
on,
right.
what's that from?
What do you mean? What's that from you?
What's it from?
You got your thumbs up. What are you doing? Let me see. What are you with? Oh, with the pinkies.
Yeah.
I didn't see the pinkies.
It's not pinkies, that's his thumb.
No, he's
my
doing
thumb,
this.
I'm doing-
He's doing
yeah.
this.
Yeah, come on. Name the
doing
movie.
that.
Let's go. Name it.
Bill and Ted.
Nope.
Assault on Precinct 13.
You're getting close. It's a John Carpenter film.
Lady in the Water. Wait,
No.
that's not John Carpenter.
Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh, I love that.
There
movie.
we go. Yeah.
I don't even remember
Yeah,
that.
where were
scene.
you on that?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Fucking movie from the goddamn 80s. Listen,
Did you hear they were trying to remake that with Dwayne Johnson?
dude, they're remaking a lot of movies now. You know, they're redoing the.
The Thing.
Faces of Death.
Faces of Death.
Both of those are also true. I was going to go with The Exorcist, but.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yes.
That's a series. But
But anyway,
Anyway.
so let's wrap it
coming
up. We're 50, what are we, 55 minutes
55,
in? Okay,
55
so we're
minutes.
actually doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good.
now that we got you
But-
off of the M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah, well,
Nighty.
let's face it.
Is
Let's
he your
face
knight in shining armor?
it. In a,
Wow, that was a good one.
Wow.
I like that.
wow. Just from the guy, just because you lost the argument about
From the
Ghostface
go
doesn't mean, listen,
people.
People.
listen, people.
Wake up.
I said like
people.
6 times. You haven't said it once. You got to throw in a good people
I just
thing.
said people just now.
Oh, well, I know. but
Technically twice now.
you got to do it in the Warwick
Mode.
way, though. Like
Oh,
straight
People.
edge people,
right.
Aquafina people,
Drinking people.
drinking water people, drinking bourbon people.
watered down Scream series. Sorry.
Anyway,
I do think. Oh, all right. To wrap it up, I do think Scream. Were you about to wrap it up?
go for it.
Okay, let me wrap it up. I think Scream 6 was a wonderful movie.
It was good.
I think that it could go in the direction of anybody can be Ghostface.
I think so.
And I think that would make it scarier because anybody being Ghostface means the rules are off and you can get killed by anybody in any situation. You got to watch out for it. If they're wearing a Ghostface mask, kick them in the balls.
So okay, just to add to that, do you think though, as soon as they lose, and I know I just said that that's I think what's going to happen, but do you think as soon as they lose the Woodborough people, they lose that connection to the rules?
No, I think they're keeping that original 4. What do they call themselves? The 4?
Core 4.
Core 4.
Core 4. I think they're going to
7 years
keep
ago.
them just to keep that Woodborough tie-in.
Because in other words, it's like I know
Just
obviously.
because.
You know,
You gotta have the core
Seth
characters.
Green was the original one that came up with like the rules of every horror movie.
If they wanted to, they could do Scream 7 and kind of go Halloween
Seth
2.
Green did that? He came up with the
Was it
original
Seth
rules?
Green?
No.
For what? Wait, I missed
From
that.
the original Scream movie?
Yeah, who was in the original?
No,
one?
Seth Green is the guy from,
Family Guy.
well, okay, from Family Guy,
Yeah,
but
who
he's
was,
also,
who was the
the guy with
character
the
in the
nose,
original
the what's
guy
his
with the
name?
nose?
What the fuck is his name? What the fuck is his name?
Are you talking?
guy
Oh,
with the
you're-
nose?
Come on.
No, you're talking about Randy,
Yeah.
right? Randy's
Randy
character?
Jackson?
Oh.
The
Oh,
original
man.
fucking
Dog.
Scream, you
Oh,
motherfucker.
Jesus. What's up, dog?
What was his name?
It smells like up
What
dog in
the,
here.
you know, all right.
Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy!
Jesus.
Jamie Kennedy,
Jamie
Seth
Kennedy.
Green. They're all the
What
same
the
people.
fuck?
They're all the same people.
Fucking Jamie.
Have you ever seen them in the
goddamn-
same room together?
No, but I'd much rather
Exactly.
watch a Green film than Kennedy.
I don't know.
Okay, Malibu's most
Anyway,
wanted.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you. Well, maybe not.
Anyway, Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy.
Jamie Kennedy was the one that came up with those original rules.
I think I broke my glasses.
He did. I know. I saw that go fly.
Why did you throw the glasses?
Because I was getting so upset with you.
takes the heat off of me, I guess.
Anyway, we should.
Yeah,
need
we
to
should.
finish
We
up.
can end this.
We're at an hour.
Okay,
right.
well, so I
Thank you
summarized.
again for
You guys
joining us.
summarize.
So we're summarizing.
Scream
what are we
versus
skipping?
M. Night versus...
If we had to pick between the two, which one would we go with?
or maybe not that blatant.
If I had
I'm
to
sure-
pick, if I had
Short
to
on
pick,
time
sure,
here.
sure.
if I had to pick
sure.
between the two, I would pick Scream, purely because of the fact that I thought that was very enjoyable. I could totally watch it multiple times. Where I thought that as much as I really enjoyed Knock at the Cabin, it was probably a one and done for me.
Well, fuckity bye-bye to you. Why don't you tell us your information?
I would go almost the exact same route, just because of rewatchability.
Okay.
Wait,
Scream 6.
rewatchability.
Scream 6.
You could watch Scream 6 over and over,
Yes.
but not Knock
Yes.
at the Cabin.
Correct.
Okay.
That was a bit of a knock at the cabin.
All right.
What did I
and
say?
you got. Now we're getting down to time.
Anyway.
And your choice? I obviously I think we know the answer to this one, but
No,
No, he already wrapped up. We need to wrap up because we're running out of time.
Wow.
We're running out of time, people.
Fuckity bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you so much for
Holy
watching.
shit, we are right. We got 3 minutes.
By the way,
All right.
we've worked out for some reason this recording device that we have seems to end at 1:03.
You're breaking the
We don't know
fourth
why.
wall
keeps
again.
keeps us honest.
Breaking the fourth wall again.
Thank you.
So
We're
anyway,
like
thank you
amateurs.
so much. As we've
Thank
said
you.
in all the previous ones, if you have any ideas of a movie that we should watch, let us know in the comments. If you have any questions, if we've fucked up the answer to something and you
Yeah,
know a better
I'm sure we
answer,
have.
please put it in the comments. If you have any suggestions on a bourbon or a whiskey of some kind or adult beverage that you
Or
would
mixed
like us
drink,
to review, let us know. If you have a pairing of movie and
I think they get the
adult beverage,
concept. I think all you fuckers need to start commenting down below and tell us
Talk
what you
to us.
think.
Trying to get
Talk to
people.
us, people.
Don't scare them away.
that's it, people.
There we go.
Thank you.
Anyway.
very
All
much.
right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We love you.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Now,
Now.
we've got to give it some time. We've got to give it a couple seconds.
No. Now and now.
Okay, and then now.
Now.
All right.
I just like doing that. Oh.